In this video, we'll start getting into the nitty-gritty more about how some of these different phyla of fungi reproduce. As we mentioned before, fungi are going to reproduce both sexually and asexually, and our fungi are classified by their method of sexual reproduction. In order to do that, though, we need to look a little bit more closely at the hyphae and see what kind of specializations can happen within the hyphae to support these different types of reproduction. The first division of the hyphae that we're going to talk about, and I should mention that everything we're talking about today is in Phylum Zygomycota, although a lot of what we're talking about is also going to apply to some of the other phyla as well. So the first subdivision of hyphae is the rhizoid hyphae, and if you do not have the coloring sheet that I gave you, you will need to go find that so that you can look at it as we're discussing some of these different structures. The rhizoid hyphae, as you can see up in the corner here, you've got a piece of bread with mold growing on it, and Zygomycota is the home for the classification for all the different molds. And so we're taking this fungus that's here and we're blowing it up so that you can see what it looks like. Part C are the rhizoid hyphae. And the rhizoid hyphae is what, again, it's what it anchors the fungus to the surface. It makes up the main mycelia of the fungus, and it's responsible for the extracellular digestion that we talked about. So that is part C on your coloring sheet. We're going to come back to that part in a couple of minutes because that's the part that's responsible for the sexual reproduction in this particular phyla. We're going to look at a couple of other parts of the hyphae first. The first one that we're going to look at is the stolon, which is responsible for asexual reproduction. And stolons remind me a lot of strawberry plants. I don't know if you're familiar with strawberry plants. We grow strawberries in our family, and we have a very large strawberry patch. And so with a strawberry plant, of course, your strawberry plants are going to have roots, and then they've got your stems and your leaves, and then they're going to grow strawberries under here. But strawberries send out runners. And so that runner is this long, it looks like a stem, but it's this long thing that comes out, and then when it hits the ground over here, it puts down more roots and it makes another strawberry plant. So when my husband goes out and plants, 50 strawberry plants, by the next spring, we're going to have more like 150 to 200 strawberry plants because of all the runners that it has sent out. Now, don't get confused because, as we've said before, although certain fungi may look like plants because of the way that they grow and the fact that they don't run around and move like animals do, they are not plants because they don't make their own food. So don't think that the mycelia is like a root system and that the stolons are the same as runners. They're not the same, but I use that as an analogy to help you understand kind of what's going on. That stolon goes out from one mycelia because it's going out. It's going to have exactly the same characteristics, the same genetics of the original mycelia. It goes far enough away, it goes down, makes its own mycelia, makes a new fungus. Okay, so that is asexual reproduction in your stolon. We also, some of the hyphae are going to specialize and make sporangiophores. And you can see this, you can see it on part D, which is the sporangiophore that comes up from the surface, and then it makes part E, which is the sporangium, and a sporangium is just an enclosure that holds spores. Now, these enclosures in some fungi are holding sexually produced spores, and in other fungi they're holding asexually produced spores. In this particular phylum, in Zygomycota, they are holding asexually produced spores, okay, in this particular phylum. So what happens is that these guys come up here, they produce all these spores. Eventually, the sporangia breaks open and the spores are released. Now, spores are very, very small. They're microscopic. You can't see them with the naked eye. They're very dry. They're very lightweight. And so when the sporangia bursts, then the spores are going to just fly everywhere. That's why it's so easy to get mold. If you live in a moist environment at all, it's very easy to get mold to grow for that reason, because the spores are microscopic, they're lightweight, and they fly everywhere. Okay, so that is the method of asexual reproduction in this phylum, but let's talk about the sexual reproduction because that's what classifies Zygomycota in this particular phylum. So on the rhizoid hyphae, underneath the surface, what happens is you've got one hyphae that's going to kind of come over this way, and you've got another hyphae that's going to be coming over this way, and they don't have male and female. Instead, they're classified as plus and minus. And so if this happens to be a plus type of structure, and this one happens to be a minus type of structure, they come together, and then they're going to fuse, and then you're going to have a zygospore produced as a result of this sexual reproduction. Once this happens, a new mycelia is formed, and then it's going to start growing its own fungus from there. Okay, you can actually see that here on the bottom of the sheet. You can see the plus and the minus coming together, fusing, forming your zygospore, and then they're making a new mycelium with a new fungus, and it's actually producing a new sporangia up here. Okay, so this is phylum Zygomycota. Some of these same types of things are going to continue on into our other phyla as well, but we'll get into those on another day.